Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Sabata Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Coming up this evening, pressure mounts on President Akufo-Addo to rescind his directive for audit firm KPMG to probe into revenue assurance contract between the government and SML Ghana Limited. Meanwhile, a former Auditor General, Daniel Yao Demelovo, says the Auditor General is better placed to handle the matter. And also, the OSP concludes probe into the alleged bribery scandal in Ghana's parliament, citing a lack of cooperation from the main accuser. That's members of parliament on the ticket of the NPP who made this allegation. We're talking about the Asante Achim North MP and also the majority leader. We'll tell you the details of the special prosecutor's release on this particular investigations into the allegations that a very wealthy businessman tried to bribe the MPs to stand down on their campaign to have Ken Oforiatta removed as finance minister. You recall that? That's over a year ago. Now, tension is brewing. Also, West Wogon, the NPP, following the disqualification of the only challenger to incumbent MP for the area, Lydia Al-Hassan. We have the details from the vetting process across the country of the NPP here on Hot Edition. Remember, we're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's get into the stories this evening. I am Alfred. Ocansey. Now, barring any foreseeable changes, audit firm KPMG will have to begin its probe into the revenue assurance contract between the government of Ghana and Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited. This is to enable it meet the 2 weeks deadline handed it by President Akufo-Addo. The task by the president has been flatly rejected by some anti-corruption crusaders and the parliamentary minority caucus, but the president has not rescinded this directive. Now, let me take you through a path and follow me closely, and also recall the specific trajectory that this expose by the Fourth Estate led by Manasseh Zuriawani has taken over the period. On the 18th of December 2023, the Fourth Estate published a story about what it revealed a questionable revenue assurance contract between the Ghana Revenue Authority and SML. On the 18th of December 2023, the Fourth Estate proceeded to petition the special prosecutor to look into the matter. On the 19th of December 2023, SML released a statement dismissing the claims, and the next day, the 20th of December 2023, we had the GRA also issuing a statement to back the deal. On the 22nd of December 2023, Parliament also initiated a probe suspending the deal. On the that's just yesterday, the 2nd January 2024, President Akufo-Addo directed an audit and also the suspension of this deal between the GRA and the SML. But the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Toforsing, has since issued a statement rejecting the move by the president, also indicating in his view that this has come in too little, too late, because Parliament has itself begun the work of probing this matter. Meanwhile, the former Auditor General, Daniel Yao Demelovo, wants both Parliament and KPMG to back off from this particular SML expose.
It is not necessary. It is a further wastage of public funds because there are several anti-corruption agencies in the country. First, we have the YOCO, we have the OSP, and if it's a matter of audit, we have the Ghana Audit Service or the Office of the Auditor General. And if you read Article 187, Clause 8 of the Constitution, it says that in the national interest, the President, upon advice of the Council of State, may ask the Auditor General to conduct audits. So such audits can be done better by the Auditor General instead of the company KPMG. So my initial reaction is that this is a further waste of public resources, especially when the issue has been reported to the OSP, when the Parliament itself, through their finance committee, has indicated they are going to audit it. What is KPMG going to do, which is so new? I think the president must recall this contract, cancel it. It's not necessary. But it must be noted that we are talking about the administration or the governance of the country. The institution with the highest authority to do audit in Ghana is the Office of the Auditor General. No other institution. And by law, they have established YOCO. By law, they have established OSP. So there are institutions already established. So why didn't the president direct the same quest to the Auditor General or to YOCO or to OSP? And here's the case, even the parliament has also taken it up, which to me, to be honest with you, even the parliament coming in, I thought was not necessary. They should have just directed it to OSP and say, OSP, investigate that. So the presidency coming in or parliament coming in does not add any value to the finding that we are going to make. It is what we make out of the finding, which is important to the country, not who is ordering the audit.
So that's Daniel Yaudemel over there, former Auditor General, and joining us on the telephone to have a quick conversation on this. Vitu Tazim is a celebrated anti-corruption crusader, not only in Ghana, but on the continent and beyond. Is joining us. Tazim, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
You're welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. It's good to have you. First off, I start off from where Daniel Demelovo ended, that in his view, Parliament stepping into the matter, it's not going to make much of a difference because the special prosecutor has already been petitioned on the matter as well. You agree?
Yes, I agree. You see, this country, we have the tendency to muddy the waters when there is a high-profile case to be investigated. And for me, from experience, Parliament's investigation does not usually go anywhere. Because they talk about partisan investigation, and if you say about partisan, it's more or less saying partisan. Because you have the ruling party there and you have the opposition party there, and then each of them is thinking of how to make a name for his party. So, for investigation by Parliament, they have never led us anywhere. In any case, we set up institutions to do these things, to investigate corruption-related issues. And he counted about 4 of them. You have the Commission on Human Rights, and Administrative Justice, you have the YOCO, you have OSP, then the Audit Service, or Auditor General, and even the police. So why another body coming in to investigate this thing?
I see. But then again, the point about the Auditor General as well, in his view, that if the president wanted an audit and not the suspension of this agreement or the deal between the SML and the GRA, then the Auditor General could have been the most probable institution to do that audit and not a private firm, KPMG, to be engaged for this.
Yes. Again, I strongly agree with him. KPMG is a private firm that has allegedly been awarded contracts for the Ghana Revenue Authority and the government of Ghana. And we know what can sometimes happen when these things happen. So you cannot be sure that the audit will come out with any damaging findings that they may come across. It may not be independent. It may be influenced in one way or the other by the authorities. So yes, I don't think that's necessary. You have the Auditor General who can do the audit. Or the Auditor General also has power, if it thinks that it doesn't have the capacity to do it, to now ask another firm to help. And this has happened in the past before. The World Bank used to support the Auditor General to get private auditors, auditing firms to conduct audits for it because of the too much work. So it will be strange if we do that today, this time.
I see, but then again, I just want to find out, Mr. Azim, with your knowledge of this SML GRA expose by Manasseh Azuri and his team, would you have had this agreement terminated rather than a suspension for an audit to take place, especially because of the details we know about this particular deal so far?
Well, people always argue that you have not looked at both sides of the coin. So, suspension under what conditions? Because if you suspend and you are going to be paying them something, or they are going to be incurring costs in addition, then they are not saving the country of any money. So, if the suspension without any cost to the government, then maybe it's okay whilst you investigate. But if there are costs involved that the government will still incur as a result of the suspension, then I wouldn't recommend it.
How does all of this, and based on the optics, how does all of this, impact on the fight against corruption? Because as you have indicated earlier, they are very competent and effective state institutions that can do this investigation, and yet the option of the president is to have a private company that is said to have already have some relationship with one of the parties it is said to be investigating, or it has been directed to be investigating, also been asked now to investigate that same client of his as well. How does all of this impact on the fight against corruption?
It's not promoting a fight against corruption. It is rather relegating the fight against corruption to the background. Because, as I said, we're not likely to have anything substantive coming out of this investigation. So why are we doing this? The information is there. The investigation has shown some of these things clearly. And even they have talked to some of the institutions that are involved. It's a duplication of effort. So why would you continue to suspend them so that they can still be hanging on to certain benefits while the investigation is going on? If they say they have got their employees, then they may argue that you have to pay them, at least pay the employees. So these are some of the things that I think that a termination would have been better than a suspension.
As you talk about duplication of efforts, finally, I mean, how is that going to play out? I mean, in this instance?
Well, I said sometimes they just try to muddy the water. KPMG is doing investigation, Parliament is doing investigation, and somebody has petitioned the OSP. So these are all state institutions. Why are we doing all this to ourselves? Is it because we don't want the truth to come out? Or why? Is it that we want to influence the outcome? Or why? So these are the questions that we'll be asking. Because all involves money. We've already lost money to this company. Now we want to lose more money by getting different institutions to investigate the matter.
Very, very important point there. Zazim, appreciate your time. Thank you so much, as always.
You're welcome.
Invite to Zazim, Executive Director of the Ghana, former Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Local Chapter of Transparency International. It's an anti-corruption crusader joining us with his thoughts on this. But on Ghana Tonight, last night on TV3, I engaged Manasseh Azure-Awoni on this particular issue. And he says that he finds it quite surprising that the president would rather direct an audit and not a termination.
Directed by the finance ministry to enter into this arrangement. So that is one thing to note. It is interesting that the presidency is taking action, but this action brings to the fore a number of questions. I say this because this is not the first time the current president has directed something to be done about an investigation I did. In 2019, when I did a contracts for sale, a day after the story broke, the president first suspended the CEO of the Public Procurement Authority, and then directed or referred the matter to the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, and also the Office of the Special Prosecutor to investigate. SHRAJ finished its investigation. Based on the findings, the president dismissed the then CEO of the Public Procurement Authority, Ejenim Boateng J. And then later on, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, under the leadership of Kisi Ajabin, because by the time Matamidu left after 1 year, nothing had been done about that. But when Kisi Ajabin took over, there was further investigation. And as we speak, the CEO of the Public Procurement Authority and the brother-in-law are standing trial in the courts of law. So the question is, why is the president asking for an audit instead of an investigation this time? Why KPMG and not the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which is already working on this? And why not? I would straight away call for the cancellation of the contract and perhaps ask for investigation to be done concerning the existing one. which has been running since 2019. That one was signed in 2019 because the issues are pretty straightforward. The people claim to be doing certain services and saving money when they were confronted with evidence that you are not doing these services. That's diversion, dilution, and the declaration, those methods or ways through which revenue was lost. They admitted they weren't doing them, deleted them from their websites. And the question is, the new contracts to go into gold mining and oil production, what exactly are they going to do? And I think there's enough evidence for the president to have taken action, especially now that Parliament is investigating and also the Office of the Special Prosecutor is also in this matter. So I am a bit confused as to the end game, the intention on the mind of the president for taking this action.
As Manasseh Azuri-Awoni is the lead investigator on this expose of SML and the GRA contract, which has led to a number of reactions, and the latest being President Akufo-Addo's directive to have an audit into this particular issue. Now, let's get some news just coming through on this particular strategic mobilization Ghana, that's directive is related to the president on audit. Now, we're going to get into the special prosecutor's latest, but this news is just coming through here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. There's a statement from the Strategic Mobilization Limited, this company in question, SML. They say that SML has taken notice of the directive by President Akufo-Addo to suspend our revenue assurance contract with the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Finance. We welcome the directive and the decision to appoint KPMG to conduct an immediate audit of the contract. SML awaits the result of the audit as it will help establish a clear and accurate picture of our operations. We hope that the report's findings will be made public, allowing for transparency and accountability. We remain resolute in upholding the highest business standards and welcome the scrutiny that this audit will bring. We are confident that the findings will confirm the integrity of our collaboration with GRA and the Ministry of Finance and provide ample evidence of the value we provide citizens. This is Strategic Mobilization Limited's statement in reaction to the president's directive for an audit by KPMG. They say they welcome the decision to appoint KPMG, but you've had a number of anti-corruption crusaders and in fact some institutions as well raising questions about the decision to engage a private firm, KPMG, when there are state agencies that can conduct this same investigation into this. Adam Senano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, but we called him on this OSP matter. But Adam, thank you so much, Mr. Senano, for joining us here on Hot Edition.
And thank you for having me.
And I know that this is a matter that you have interest in as well. We're going to talk about the special prosecutor's latest statement, but now, SML is saying they welcome the engagement of KPMG. Are you one of those who also raise concerns about the engagement of this private firm to do an audit on behalf of government about this controversial deal?
On the contrary, I don't have a problem with it. I think that KPMG has the capacity. I think they have the integrity. I don't think that KPMG is going to sell out its long-term interests for the simple reason of one political assignment. And honestly, if I was in the president's shoes, I would suspect that if I gave this to a state entity, I'm going to get more bashing. So at the moment, honestly, I think that there's no problem with KPMG being requested. It cannot be a directive, it's being requested. And they have the right to decide not to take up this assignment. But I think that they are a credible enough entity to take a look and give us some additional information in addition to what Parliament and the OSP may come up with.
The concern by those who have dissenting views than what you hold is that there are other agencies. I mean, the Auditor General, for instance, Daniel Yademelovo spoke to us not too long ago, who makes the point that the Auditor General, for instance, can do this. The Special Prosecutor has already been petitioned on this matter. Shraj is there. Ioko is there as well. So on the balance of probability, why engage a private firm as against the state agencies?
Well, I mean, in the past we've had areas when issues come up, when the government takes a state entity and says they should do it, in comparison or in contrast with either multi-stakeholder group or a private entity or civil society, would say that the likelihood is that the government will bring its influence to bear on that state entity. I remember when we had the BOS issue of contaminated fuel and fuel was being shared and all that. They started with a multi-stakeholder group we all had confidence in. The next thing they said was BNI was going to investigate, so the multi-stakeholder is collapsed. Many of us in civil society were not happy. We have the view that a multi-stakeholder group of independent people will give us a much better report and objective view on the subject matter. So, for consistency's sake, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have the problem of the president asking KPMG. They still have the right to decline the request, because I would have anticipated that we are very likely to say, oh, after a state entity, the government will influence it. So under those circumstances, I'm all right with KPMG being requested to do this assessment.
Right. Now, on the reason, the major reason why we called you this evening, the special prosecutors concluded, according to the details they released today, investigations into the alleged bribery scandal in Ghana's parliament, citing a lack of cooperation from the main accuser, the member of parliament for the Asante Achim North constituency, and the Apia Kobe. The OSP's report dated December 28th also revealed that despite credible indications that a wealthy businessman attempted to influence the MPs on the majority side to drop their call for the dismissal of Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta, the investigation faced significant challenges. Now, according to the details of the report, and the Apia Kobe, the key accuser, refused to cooperate with the investigation and declined to disclose the identity of the suspect. And Oseche Mensah Bonsu, who also made a similar claim, denied direct knowledge of the matter during the probe. So the OSP expressed disappointment eventually at the refusal of Andy Apia Kobe to collaborate, stating that Mr. Apia Kobe's refusal to cooperate with the investigation and his refusal to disclose the identity of the suspect are most regrettable. And as a result, they've had to close the investigations on this matter. Find out your take on this, especially considering the OSP's position that, yes, there were clear indications that a businessman, a wealthy businessman, actually tried bribing the MPs.
It's really, really disappointing. And when I first heard it, I was telling myself, are these the men of integrity we are expecting? These are leaders who will move us forward. I had wanted to check Article 41, because I think that citizens have a certain responsibility captured there to report any acts that undermine the state. I was trying to remember, I seem to recollect something of the sort. And telling myself, if we put you in such a position of trust, should you be so reticent to say, I will not share, I don't think I say anything? It's our partisanship such that the public interest, the greater good of this nation, is not what we want to pursue. And I'm extremely bothered about that. I think that we should be asking ourselves questions about the kind of leaders we have and their willingness to serve the greater good of all of us as a country. I think it's a real concern. And I'm extremely bothered about this response by those who clearly have the facts and have the information, but are unwilling to share it so that this matter can be dealt with.
But to the extent that the OSP established a credible suspicion that indeed a wealthy businessman tried to bribe the MPs, should he close the investigation even if the MPs are not cooperating?
I mean, if you don't have the people who give the evidence, who are material to it, you are bordering on getting yourself into a case where you'll be thrown out. So I very well understand the OSP's unwillingness to proceed. If they can't get people who speak to it, then really there's no case they're going to be able to make that will be substantive. So Unfortunately, where they find themselves and where we find ourselves is what it is they are reflecting. However, I think that as a society, we should all be highlighting and asking these two gentlemen, do they think that they are serving Ghana? Is this how we serve Ghana? And I think media can help us do that. Is this how we serve Ghana? Is this what they were called to? Is this what they swore an oath to do? Shouldn't they consider that? Is our partisanship bringing us to such a point that when it is clear that something has gone wrong, and really what it is about is to say such and such gentleman indeed came and attempted to influence the course of the decision making, we should be willing to share. Otherwise, what kind of precedents are we setting?
Mr. Serrano, you make a good point about the precedents, but in order to also ensure that this matter is dealt with, and especially because if there has not been any establishment of the possibility of this businessman trying to bribe, then that'll be a different thing. The OSP says, yes, I established that there was actually an attempt by a businessman to bribe the MPs. The issue here is the identity. So should it be closed there, even if that establishment has been made?
I think that, Alfred, what both of us would need would be to find out from the lawyers whether there is a technical mechanism, an avenue that could still be explored or exploited to make this a substantive case that could be taken to court and won. I think that what the OSP is telling us is that in the absence of such material witnesses, this is not something we can move to the next level. It's a technical issue. And so, yes, I would have preferred a situation where somehow this individual can be brought to book. To be honest, I get your sentiments and I align with it. I'd rather that we can hold such, because it's a very dangerous thing when we have individuals, that's like state capture. They have so much resources, they're able to influence a particular decision. So that person must have so much resources, they think I can go and change something instead of promoting the public good. It is in our interest if we could get that person sanctioned appropriately through the legal system. But what I hear the OSP saying, and perhaps we need some lawyers to tell us, is there an outstanding avenue legally that could be explored or exploited in order to bring this person and such persons to book?
Good question there. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Edison. I appreciate it as always.
And thank you also for having me.
I know we'll have this conversation a lot more on Ghana Tonight on TV3. Appreciate your time for that. Thank you so much. Edem Senano is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, joining us with his thoughts on this matter here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Your thoughts are welcome, as always. On Facebook, we're streaming live at 3FM 927. Keep them coming through. Read them to you and to the rest of the world. Now, the flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has been speaking about the fight against corruption, and he says that structures are going to be strengthened to ensure that the fight against corruption is given the needed seriousness if he's elected to be president.
Also passionate about the fight against corruption and uprooting poor governance to ensure that our resources are used responsibly and ethically. I firmly believe a transparent and accountable government is essential for building trust and confidence in our institutions. We will hold to account members of this administration who have abused the public trust by misconducting themselves in office. But more importantly, we would also allow unfettered space for the anti-corruption agencies to deal with anybody who abuses the public trust under my administration. By strengthening anti-corruption measures, promoting good governance, and upholding the rule of law, we shall create a fairer and who abuses the public trust under my administration. By strengthening anti-corruption measures, promoting good governance, and upholding the rule of law, we shall create a fairer and more equitable society where everyone can thrive. We will reduce the size of government in our bid to cut down on expenditure. We will combine ministries and remove government agencies that are duplicating each other. In other words, we in government will also tighten our belts even as we call on our people to make whatever sacrifices are necessary for our national revival. As we look forward to the year ahead, I want to assure you, the people of Ghana, that I'm fully committed on behalf of Ghana's most development-oriented political party, the NDC, to deliver on these promises I've made. Ladies and gentlemen, democracies cannot thrive without quality and trusted leadership. Economics cannot grow in the absence of quality and trusted leadership. Willing nations can only become great if they have quality and trusted leadership. When things are tough, true and trusted leaders set up a vision that inspires people and gives them hope.
Now, on the 2025 budget, John Mahama gave an indication of the direction that he intends to take.
While providing jobs for the youth, we'll also encourage business ownership and entrepreneurship amongst them. In April 2025, the new NDC government shall introduce skills development. While providing jobs for the youth, we'll also encourage business ownership and entrepreneurship amongst them. In April 2025, the new NDC government shall introduce a new budget to support and build small businesses and adjust taxes as an incentive for job creation. At the heart of my vision for economic revitalization is the implementation of a 24-hour economy. This innovative policy seeks to maximize productivity and efficiency by extending business hours and operations around the clock. Doing so will create a more dynamic and vibrant economy that benefits workers and businesses. A 24-hour economy will increase economic output and create well-paying jobs. It will also contribute to a more inclusive and accessible society, giving people the flexibility to work, to study, to shop, and enjoy leisure activities at any time that suits them best. The 24-hour economy will succeed because we shall provide improved security and public safety, which will require massive recruitment into the security services and private security operations. My government will provide cheaper and more reliable electricity for those participating businesses based on a time of use tariff system. Companies that sign up for the 24-hour economy will benefit from modern smart meters calibrated to charge a lesser tariff per kilowatt hour for power that is consumed during off-peak hours.
That's John Mahama there. So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Let's go into here on your election command center. We'll be monitoring the happenings with respect to the NPP's primaries of the constituencies which are held by the NPP MPs. Now, 137 of them. Well, the growing tension in the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency of the NPP in the Greater Accra region following the disqualification of a parliamentary contender there is not going away anytime soon. The party's vetting committee this afternoon said to have disqualified Kwabena Mankwa, a former NPP youth organizer, and the only contender to the incumbent leader, Seram Al-Hassan, is said to have defaulted on payment of the membership dues, amongst others. The decision led to tempest flaring at the vetting venue earlier today. We'll be hearing from the disqualified aspirant shortly. Meanwhile, vetting of the contenders for the Dom Kwabena constituency seat proceeded without a glitch. CEO of the Free Zones Authority, Michael Quaid Jr., who is seeking to unseat Adjosafo, that's an incumbent member of Parliament, Sarah Adjosafo, faced the committee this afternoon. And shortly we'll hear from them. But I've been joined on the telephone by Kwabena Mankwa, the disqualified parliamentary aspirant for the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency, is joining us. Zangwa, good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Yes, can you please speak up a bit?
What were the specific issues that the vetting committee raised, the reason why you were disqualified?
Well, I think they were actually saying I have not paid my dues up to date, which I have paid 4 months, and they were saying it's supposed to be 3 years. That's basically what they raised. But for me, I actually think it's actually a game plan, more or less, because if I look at what transpired before the interview, I had a meeting with which was chaired by Mrs. Kate Jamtua, the National Women Organizer, who was trying to persuade me to step down. She pushed severally, trying to give me reasons why I have to allow the incumbent to go unopposed. And I also gave her compelling reasons why I believe my candidature is so strong and is also going to inure to the benefit of the party. Again, I also had another meeting which was chaired by the regional chairman, Divine Agohom. In that meeting, we had the Greater Accra Regional Women Organizer, we had the Greater Accra Secretary, as well as my opponent, which I thought was very unfair. And it was more or less way of trying to put fear in me, trying to push me to the limit in order to concede that I'm no more running. But God being so good, I stood my ground and made it clear to them. I'm not running just for myself, but I'm running for the youth of Ayawaso West Wagon. So that's how it transpired, basically.
I see, but what does the party's rules say specifically about those seeking to contest? The dues, is it supposed to be 4 months, or 2 years?
No, it's neither here nor there, because even if you...
Hello? Hello? Unfortunately, we lost him on the telephone. That's the Kwabena Mankwa, the disqualified parliamentary aspirant for the Ayawaso West Wagon constituency. I was just seeking to find a bit more detail.
You've not paid dues, so you cannot contest. You are disqualifying you from running. I believe the incumbent has their own way of going around things, and this is one of them. But for sure, the delegates and then the youth of Ayawaso West Wagon are for sure going to speak out. And I know the powers that be. The General Secretary, Justin Kobe, I have a lot of confidence in him that he will stand his ground and then make sure the right things are done for the party. Because 2024 is no joke. The parliamentary elections is what's going to decide the presidential, and we are all very much aware. So the youth of Ayawaso West Wagon are keen on putting up a candidate that can really match up with the candidate of NDC.
That is in the person of John Dumelo?
Well, I've heard of that. Yes, John Dumelo, yeah.
But then again, as it stands now, you have been disqualified, correct?
Well, officially, I've not received any official letter to that in that regard, but I was told verbally by the same people who were actually telling me to step down. So they were judged in their own court. They told me, persuaded me to step down, and again they came back and told me I have been disqualified. So I know our party is a democratic party, and we know what to do in certain instances like this.
So are you going to petition the hierarchy of the party, the executives of the party?
Yes, I think per the rules of engagement, we would have to appeal, which my lawyers are busy putting it together. Tomorrow morning, God willing, we are going to appeal to all the stakeholders involved. And then I think we have a compelling reason for them to make this decision. You have a compelling reason?
So you have a compelling reason to as it were, petition this particular decision to disqualify you?
We have a compelling reason for them to rescind that decision that was made today by Madame Kate Gemfua and her team.
I see. I thank you very much for joining us, and really appreciate your time. It's
pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.
Kwabena Amankwa is a disqualified parliamentary aspirant for the Ayawaso West Wagon constituency. There sharing his thoughts and the decision to now petition the executives of the party to rescind their decision to disqualify him. She's given us a chronicling of events that led to today, and he being impressed upon to step aside, which he did not heed to, and he says that that's what he suspects may have influenced the decision to disqualify him. Let's go straight to the Ashanti region, the stronghold of the MPP, where there's a lot happening there. My colleague William Evans Inkom, Northern Bureau Chief, has been monitoring the situation there every step of the way. And William, let's start off from the Asqua constituency, specifically, the Adansi Asqua constituency. There's been a lot of activity there. Tell me about it. What's going on?
Well, so earlier we heard that Katie Hammond has filed a petition asking the election committee or the vetting committee to disqualify one of the candidates. Just want to get the name right for you. Okay, so
is this Sami Benfo Dakwa?
No, so we understand one in Cancer Samoa, who is the of course, I mean Sami Benfo Dankwa's eligibility, but I can tell you that the vetting committee chairman has said that nothing of that sort happened. And this one is just coming in. So Nana Boachi, chairman of the vetting committee, said the process has been very smooth and nothing of that sort really happened. So by virtue of that, by virtue of what the vetting committee chairman has said, it presupposes that no one was disqualified because two venues were designated for today's exercise. That is one at the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's campaign office, where KP Hammond, together with other aspirants, were, and of course the NPP regional office, where I was. About 17 constituencies were also going through that particular process. I'm talking as far from 17 constituencies going through the process in that particular enclave. So that is the development now. So I can say that for now, no one has been disqualified as far as the Ashanti region is concerned. Nonetheless, there are 5 constituencies whose incumbent or sitting MPs are going unopposed. So a Krufrum constituency, Alex Blackson is going unopposed. The Bosomche constituency, Dr. Oseyo Odichum, who is the Minister of Education, is going unopposed. In the Ejoso constituency, Dr. John Amputia Kuma, the Deputy Finance Minister, is going unopposed. In the Ocansey South constituency, Isaac Yaopuku is also going unopposed. And of course, in the Asukore, Fijasa Asukore constituency, the Ashanti Regional Campaign Coordinator for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Dr. U.S. Friye, is also going unopposed. 2 constituencies were exempted from today's process. Kumewu constituency, of course, for obvious reasons. Last year, the sitting member of parliament, or the former member of parliament, Ismail Sole Basua, because he was member, he died. There was a need for a by-election. NSA already was elected after electoral commission declared him winner. And so by the guidelines of the NPP and by their own rules, NSC Aldim has automatically qualified to represent a party in the December 7th parliamentary election. Then, of course, to the Formula constituency, one of the interesting developments there, because if you look at the party's constitution and what is happening, you speak to some political analysts, they tell you that, well, to some extent, it's an affront to the party's constitution, but the party has made a position on this. So, Adis Asiama is the second deputy speaker of parliament, who is also an independent candidate as far as the particular constituency is concerned. First, he's printed from the NPP in the lead up to the 2020 parliamentary elections. He is going unopposed, but I can tell you for sure that on December 7th, we will see his name on a ballot paper as a candidate for the ruling New Patriotic Party.
That's very interesting development information there. As always, we can trust that you, William, together with your team, will bring us everything we need to know in the Ashanti region as the day proceeds. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alfred.
And there's going to be a lot more of this with William Evans in Kumum, Ghana tonight at 10 p.m. on TV3, so make a date. We'll be back shortly after this quick break, and Michael Obudu is standing by with the latest in the world of business here on Hot Edition of 3FM 92.7.
If you dare to have your thoughts, if you're
Hello there, welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up, economist Professor John Gachi warns of inflation instability in 2024 due to newly introduced tax measures by the government. We'll bring you details of that and many more coming up shortly. My name is Michael Obudu. Stay with us. Let's head straight into our top story now. Economist Professor John Gachi is projecting relative instability with the inflation figures for 2024. This comes after inflation dropped to about 26% in November last year after starting the year at over 50%. According to Professor Gachi, the new taxes introduced this year might derail efforts towards bringing down inflation significantly.
Well, I think inflation does not promise to be very stable in 2024. We have approved a lot of tax measures in the 2024 budget. When they start the implementation, they will have their impact on inflation. They will have their impact on prices and what we call the pass-through effect, and that will actually be impacted on the prices. So I believe inflation should not be considered to be stable in 2024, because there are many policy measures that have been taken that will have a pass-through effect that will impact on inflation. And again, we do not know how fuel prices will perform in 2024, and that will also impact on prices, therefore inflation. So if we do not also have some shocks in the system that would trigger inflation, and therefore that will be good for the economy.
So that was economist and dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi. Meanwhile, the Ghana Agricultural Workers Union, GAU, says the phase 2 of the government's Planting for Food and Jobs program will not significantly help drop food inflation in the country this year. According to the union's General Secretary, Edward Kariwe, the policy should have been implemented in 2023 in order for the impact to be felt in the subsequent year.
In 2024, food inflation is going to be dependent on the production of 2023. As we know, the food will be eaten in January, will be eaten in February, March, and April. It's the one that we have produced in 2023. So, government plan to have the phase 2 is not implemented in 2023. So, 2024, what we expect government to do is to make sure that by January, which is just some a few days away, is to make sure that all the necessary inputs that are needed for production in 2024 is available, so that when farmers are ready, that is preparing their lands for production and so on, the fertilizers, the inputs are available. But unfortunately,
so that was Edward Kariwe. He's the General Secretary of the Ghana Agricultural Workers Union, GAU. Now, still on inflation, the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, is positive prices will be stable in the first quarter of 2024, although the cedi is likely to become volatile, mainly due to the excessive repatriations, as is the case almost every year. President of the association, Dr. Joseph Obing, in an interview with 3 Business, noted that following the significant decline in inflation, businesses will not revise prices upwards.
This should be stabilized, especially when we have the stability of our local currency. But the only problem is that while the stability of the currency, the other factors of the cost of doing business still remain the same. That's why we cannot only talk about the stability of the currency and leave the other cost of doing business. But nonetheless, prices are going to be stabilized, because the major factor of our costing normally is on the exchange rate. So if the exchange rate is controlled reasonably, then prices also follow through. There's no reason why prices should go up, especially when cost of borrowing is also coming down, because the monetary policy rate have dropped, and then inflation has also dropped considerably.
So that was the voice of the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, Guta, Dr. Joseph Obeng, bringing an end to tonight's edition of Business News on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. I am Michael Obudu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Up next is sports, and Kelvin is on standby.
Well, let's get into some sports news this evening here on Hot Edition. Let's start from the Ghana Premier League, where outstanding match between Mediama SC and RTU has ended at the Aliyu Mahama Sports Stadium in Tamale, where RTU defeated them by 1-0, courtesy a 27th minute finish by Husseini Mohammed. So it means that after their 5 games with games without a victory, they've managed to pull through with a win against the Ghana Premier League champions. But during the games, there was a very bad incident that happened where one of the very important people in that particular team, that is the match commissioner, was totally beaten to be injured. Very unfortunate news coming in from there. Well, but before we get into other stories, let's have a quick listen to former coach of the Black Stars, Kwesi Appiah, who has spoken about the difficulty that the team has to go through in order to win the African Nations Cup, and it's not going to come easy.
Going out there, I wish that they win the cup, but it's not going to be easy. They need to work for it, and automatically we will all pray and support them spiritually and physically.
So where do you expect Ghana to reach?
Yeah, you see, sometimes when Ghanaians underrate the team, that is where the team surprises them, and it's happened so many times. So you look at the quality of the players, I think they can perform well, very well. Just this cycling of the players is, I have repeated this so many times.
Yes.
And it's because when you don't cycle players to approach a match, with different determination, then automatically you might relax, and before you realize the opposite team will gain a lot of confidence, and then it will be a problem for you. But when you sign up to a level where right from the word goal or the person, they start the game, with all sorts of things, automatically you can achieve.
So that is from Coach Kwesi Appiah, the chances of the senior national team, the Black Stars of Ghana. Now let's quickly get some more on the African Nations Cup that will be coming up. And Manchester United have reached an agreement with Cameroon, the Indomitable Lions, to allow Andrew Onana, the goalkeeper, finish off the game against Tottenham Hotspur on the 14th of January before joining the Indomitable Lions. The goalkeeper will be available for Cameroon against Guinea on the 15th of January as Cameroon play their first game. Amicable agreement has been reached between the two parties, with all the clubs set to maximize club and country game time. Well, that is the agreement now. Now to some news from the Ghana Premier League, and some changes have been made where the former Executive Council member Dr. Tony Obin, has been appointed as the chairman of the newly created Domestic Leagues Committee. This committee, which replaces the Premier League Committee, the Division 1 League Board, and the Women's Premier League Committee, will be responsible for the management of the above listed competitions. Well, so George Jawu has been appointed as the first vice chairman. Hilary Boateng would be the second vice chairman. For the MTN FA Cup Committee, Wilson Arthur has been given the nod as the chairman, with that is Dudu Afo, former Ghana player, as part of the board, with Frank Nelson Wokolo, also a board member of Accra House of Folk, being included in that particular list. Now let's have a quick listen to Pep Guardiola, who is welcoming the return of Kevin De Bruyne as well as other players.
It's almost close, but we ask each other to come, to the bench, to start to be in the locker room. So 3 months since August, I think so. So it's a lot of time I've been out. So be involved already, but it's close. It's close. We're training good, and he start to get minutes and minutes to get his best. So, but it's incredible news. Like, we are waiting Jeremy, we're waiting Erling, John Stones, because the second part of the season is February. Champions League is here, and the last part of the season we need everyone. It's incredible news. Kevin is back, and Erling as well, and Jeremy as well.
So you have 3 players coming back. Now, Granada are defeating Cadiz by 2-0. Celta Vigo play against Real Betis at 6:15. Same time, Real Madrid against Mallorca, and Girona will play against Atletico Madrid. These are the matches coming up this evening in the Spanish La Liga. Cover comes your way with entertainment. My name is Kelvin Oswanta.
Thanks for keeping your dial locked on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It's now time for the entertainment news segment powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa. Now, the latest Guinness World Records candidate for longest cooking marathon individual, Chef Faliatu Abdul Razak, has labeled her attempt as a national assignment. She believes that the attempt goes beyond a personal achievement, but rather a culminated effort to bring Ghana as a whole into the spotlight. She said, quote, "This is a nationwide assignment, and I pray that this attempt of mine brings the nation Ghana in the global picture." Chef Failatu crossed the 60-hour mark today, Wednesday, January 3, 2024, and is scheduled to cook till Friday with an aim of attaining 120 hours of cooking. In the last 60 hours, she has cooked and served delicious meals. A fan posted, "Day 3 and still going strong. Failatu is a cook chef indeed. She has made the cooking look so easy. She's doing a great job, and we must all support her to put Ghana on the world map, including Tamale. Go hard with more energy." Now, away from that, Ghanaian artist Mensa has conceded that Nigerian musicians produce superior music compared to their Ghanaian counterparts. The songwriter and producer believes that this is a contributing factor to the international acclaim that Nigerian songs currently enjoy. Mensa's admission comes amidst a campaign by various stakeholders advocating for a minimum of 70% airplay to be dedicated to local songs on Ghanaian media and at events. He also said definitely Nigerians are making better music than Ghanaians. I have to say this, they are definitely making better quality music because they are investing more money, more time. There's more of an understanding for the importance of arts, but also in an entrepreneurial way. So it's not waiting for the government to do something, but it's just like support people investing a lot of money into creating world-class music, he said earlier this week. Now, while acknowledging that there's a few artists taking their productions more seriously, he lamented that it was not enough. Sometimes when I go out and I hear DJs playing Nigerian songs and they switch to Ghanaian music, the quality just drops in terms of mixes, in terms of production. You know, it's a few artists who are really doing interesting things, but I feel like our whole attitude towards the whole thing is almost like we've given up on that flex too, he added. And he further emphasized the need to understand the dynamics of music production, including the approach to creating music and the quality of the final product as factors influencing the international success of Nigerian music. And that ends it for the entertainment news segment here on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa, and thanks for tuning in. The 3FM Drive team continues after this. Keep your dial locked on.